Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Monday morning edition of Benzinga's pre-market prep. Spencer Israel here with Dennis Dick and Chris Dyer Scalisi helping us run the boards this morning. So we're all scattered. Chris is in the Benzinga HQ. Dennis is home. I'm home. So let's see how this show rolls. But we have a lot to discuss from the weekend action. So Dennis, let's just jump right in. First of all, how was your weekend? I hope you had a good weekend.
That was good. It was a little bit chilly, actually. I don't know what it was like in the Motor City. We were up at our cottage here. We're up here for one more weekend there, and it was a chilly weekend. I actually got down to 40 degrees last night, so had to kick the fireplaces back on. I mean, fall is upon us here. Got to get the boat out of the water because it's over. Summer's over.
Yeah,
it's over. I got a little tear in my eye here, so
it's over.
Yeah, and you're on your holiday. You're supposed to be on your holiday, Mr. Spencer Israel here. Rosh Hashanah. Does that start today?
It started last night, actually. Yeah.
Started last night. So you're gonna get in trouble for being here?
Don't tell my parents.
I was gonna say your parents are gonna yell. I hope they're not watching you live right now. They'll be like, "What's he doing?"
No. They're. This is a little bit too early for. Actually, no, it's not. But no, yeah, I'll do the show and then I'll head off to Temple and celebrate the new year and all that jazz. But
no, they won't.
No, they won't
even.
Like
know. You're getting broadcasted all over the world right now.
They won't even know. They won't. It is what it look. It's a great start to a great year.
All right. So let's jump into the markets here. It's 8:02 and we've got some action here. Started Friday night with Alibaba, and the big news, if you're looking at Alibaba here this morning, is Jack Ma stepping down. So, stock has been in the gutter here. It continues to be in the gutter here this morning with Jack Ma stepping down, but off the Friday night lows. It was trading 157, 158 area, so it is bouncing back up. I'm hoping the audio is okay. Some people say it's not, but I thought it was okay, so we'll keep running with it. Baba here trading down $2 in the pre-market. They've got their successor. Do you have that in front of you, Spencer? Who's going to be coming in here?
Yeah.
I'm throwing you under the bus here with the news. He's running on a skeleton screw here, but he's got the pro in front of him.
So first of all, yeah, this is one of those things where it's like getting titles right and getting it factually correct. Because originally it said he's going to retire. He's not retiring. He's just stepping down as the CEO. He's going to remain the executive chairman. While their succession plan is, there are reports I was reading that he's like retiring tomorrow or next week. There's a lot of chaos around this, but the person stepping into his role, I don't have it in front of me, but I can see if I can grab it real fast. I was like half off the grid this weekend. It was nice. I didn't really keep up, with the exception of like the occasional check of Twitter. I didn't really keep up with like the weekend news. So I don't have the exact person.
I should have wrote it down, but it's Daniel Zhang.
Yes.
Who's been so he's already been CEO there, or actually he's been the CEO since 2015 apparently.
Oh yeah,
so
right.
He is a natural person to step in here and continue to. I guess he was doing a lot of the running of the company already. So just the fact that Jack Ma leaving, though, obviously we know the visionary behind it all. Leaving the company is why it's trading down here. I don't know if that's a major concern. What is more concerning to me on Alibaba is the fact that the stock is just in a horrible downtrend, and it seems like every time it bounces a little bit, it gets sold. Until that trend can break, it's really tough. And it's not just Baba. We've been talking with this. Chinese stocks are still all in the gutter. You can bring up any of them. We can look at the FXI if you want to look overall, and just hasn't been pretty. But the emerging markets, which has some other countries in there as well, but a lot of China, EEM is those as well. Hard to just try to play bottoms on something like this. I mean, you're fighting the trend, and saying this on the show for a long time. It's a very trendy market, and the play has been to buy the dips in stocks that have been going up and sell the rips in stocks that have been trending down, and I think that continues to be the play here. So these stocks here, I'm probably not interested until you can actually get above the uptrend. So I know, and somebody's eventually going to pick the bottom here, and eventually there's going to be some bounce because it is, $210 stock 3 months ago, $160 stock here this morning. Is this the absolute bottom? It might be, but who knows? So the trend is still not your friend here. So it's still, you're fighting the tape. You're trying to buy the stock. I think it could bounce a bit as a day trade. It is off the lows. It is off the after hours lows from Jack Ma, being obviously announcing Friday night that he was going to step down. But still difficult to just say this.
And he had this has been rumored for like a year or so, right? Because I thought he had said in previously in interviews that he wanted to retire by a certain age. No, or did I imagine that?
No, I remember hearing something about this. Isn't out of the blue.
Okay.
So I don't
Okay.
think this is out of the blue either, although the market was acting like a Friday night when the stock was down the 157 handle, but less liquidity on a Friday night too. I think you better, heads prevail here Monday morning
Yeah.
when we come in because it's not down nearly as much as it was. So
Right.
160, if you want to just look at a level here, all we really got is the low from 2 days ago, 158.67. The low from Friday was 159.50. So say 158.67. That's the level it kind of needs to hold. Otherwise, it's still making new lows on the move. And I don't like being long stock making new lows on the move.
And
Just like I don't like being long Tesla right now because it's been making new lows on the move.
Right, but before we get to that, I wanted to mention this tweet I saw. I want to say it was Friday, and I'm going to confirm it with the Benzinga Pro calendar right now. But someone noted that Alibaba, just the analysts out there, just have a lot of really, really high. Like they hadn't updated their price targets or their ratings in a while. I'm seeing a lot of as far as Alibaba price targets right now, I'm seeing 275, 250. Okay, so maybe they did update them recently, but I was seeing this tweet was like, oh, expect a lot of analysts to come in and catch up because they're behind on their Alibaba rating.
Well, that was my tweet. It was actually
yours?
It was a partial tweet from me because it was DJ, this guy I follow on Twitter at Market Operative. Great follow, by the way. I'll give you a shout out there. He tweeted out that there was 47 buys and only like one hold, and so everybody's basically at buy. And then I tweeted on top of his tweet, I was like, so you know what's coming.
Yeah.
We talked about it all the show. We even wrote an acronym for it: Analyst Chase Price, ACP. And when everybody's sitting at a buy and their price targets are 200s, there's probably a few downgrades coming or at least some price target lowers here. And that's why it's tough. This is almost the reason why these stocks can stay in downtrends for such a long period of time, because the analysts get all out to lunch. Well, as the end of the year starts to come, they don't want to be looking like a fool with their $250 price target on Baba. So they lower it down to 190. Maybe they put a hold on it. So I think the point that DJ, the guy following Twitter, was making is that there's 47 buys out there. That's a lot of buys. That means a lot of people are out to lunch here right now, probably with their price targets, and there could be some downgrades coming. So that's a very good.
It looks like the street high I'm seeing is 280.
Got that
from Raymond James.
So that's not happening.
That's not
so
happening.
Is there anybody with a sell? I don't think there's anybody with a sell.
I
was not one analyst. I was selling Alibaba. Is that right?
No, wait. Nope. There is one.
Who's the one? Who's the hero?
It is our old friend Ronnie Moss, Standpoint Research, who had he had an underweight last spring.
And he's still sticking with. What's his price target?
I don't have one for you, but
he's been on our show a couple times. Ronnie's an interesting person. He's all about green, isn't he, in the environment, and he had all sells on the tobacco stocks because he just didn't like people smoking, wasn't it?
Yep.
He does his analyst ratings with his heart, not always with his financial analysis.
That is the one sell we have in Pro right now.
Wonder why he's got to sell him. We should almost give him a shout out and get Ronnie on here and thanks now.
Yeah, maybe. But you want to talk about the rest of the sector here? Or is it?
No, let's move on. We talked these Chinese stocks all the time, and they're all still better. I mean, even the little ones that we talked about, the Hua, the IQ. Think about the market. And though the market's been in a couple days of a downturn, we're still been trending up here pretty substantially over the course of the last couple of months. These stocks just haven't. So you're fighting the tape. I mean, you look at HUYA, it looks like a head and shoulders. So I know I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but you got that pretty left shoulder there at 27.40. That's from the last month. You got the head up there at 30, and then you got the right shoulder almost formed perfectly in 27.30, 27.42. So until you can get above, I would say $30, I think the bears are in complete control here. And you know what? There's a lot of air below because in May this thing ran from $15 to $25. You start breaching 25, you could see this thing at 20 in a hurry here. So caution to the bulls here on HUYA. If it gets above 30, then it gets interesting, and then maybe I start to get interested in playing from the long side again. But until I can get above 30, I'm not interested. Same story for IQ. I'll give you the same price. 25 is below the move. It's not as well. It's not as pretty of a head and shoulders. It's not that we're big pattern traders, but it's just the trend. Trend, not your friend. Above $30 here, I might get interested in it. But as of right now, it looks like a short. SOGO just cannot catch a bid. Continues to go down, and then the other one we were doing, BILI, got a little bit of life there after the earnings, but quickly gave it back to, 2-3 days later, it was giving back the earnings gap here. So when they can't hold on pretty good earnings reports here, it's a sign that there's still a lot of overhead supply. And I think that's the case here as well in BILI. So I don't like the charts on any of these.
All right. Well, where do you want to go next, Nance? I'll let you lead the show
Let's
because
go
I
Tesla. Let's talk
you
Tesla
were
here.
all right.
It's up 9 points. I'm getting some of my losses back this morning. I still don't like that I have this in my portfolio, and I actually might cut the loss if it bounces back up. We'll see. I haven't totally decided. I've got, part of me thinks, well, stick with it. Your thesis was, obviously my thesis was that once it turns profitable, people are going to get more interested in this thing, and profitability is coming. I believe they will be profitable and remain profitable next year. I don't know about next quarter, which Musk was hitting at, but there could be, short-term stumbling blocks ahead. Valuations never made sense, so that's the reason I struggle with this in my investment portfolio. It's still on a valuation perspective, it doesn't make any sense. But I mean, margins are better if they get into other things. If we can get Musk to stop smoking pot on live, just get him to stop being in the media. He needs to stop. Just go back and do what you're good at, Musk. Go back there and and create things. Use your head for better things, not for being in the social media, because he definitely speaks before he thinks. So anyways, Tesla here is bouncing this morning. The reason behind that is we had a lot of analyst commentary over the weekend. Baird says this is a fresh pick, and they say it's a buying opportunity. They put a $410 price target on it. So they're coming out bullish here. Bernstein, kind of bullish, a little more cautious. They commented that they saw more, and I don't have it in front of me, so I'm just kind of trying to remember exactly what it said, but they basically said that there was more upside for the bulls and downside for the bears. So they were kind of bullish. And then you had flat out Needham came out with an underweight, or reiterated their underweight, and they are concerned about high turnover in management, which I'm concerned about as well. So all legitimate arguments here. Baird was talking about they think the numbers are good for the next quarter. Numbers there. So they're obviously the main catalyst here. 3.5% target.
Yeah, they named a couple people late Friday. They have a new new senior director of global communications. Good luck to you, Dave Arnold. They also have some various new executives that they named late Friday after the close there. So I guess we'll wait and see if the dust settles here. Did you see what the chief accounting officer said was the reason why he left? He said he left after concluding that Elon Musk and others weren't listening to him about the go private deal. That's what CNBC found out.
Well, this isn't shocking news. I don't think Elon Musk listens to anyone. I mean, this board is telling him to stop being on social media, and now he's not only not stopping in the social media, he's still out there tweeting, and now he's going on Joe Rogan for 3 hours and spilling his guts. So I mean, obviously Elon Musk's going to do what Elon Musk wants to do. That's probably the biggest issue here. But again, people are saying, oh, maybe we should get rid of him. I mean, Tesla is, I believe, nothing without Elon Musk. So I think that's the worst possible. If they were to get rid of Elon Musk, I think the stock goes down. I think I sell tomorrow too, because I think the only reason I'm in it is for Elon Musk. So I would not be a fan of that move at all. But anyway, it's getting a little lift here this morning. Thank you, Baird. If we want to keep going with the ratings, there was a lot of ratings changes over here the weekend. The analysts may be coming a little bit more out of their slumber here. Let's go to Foot Locker. It's getting an upgrade here from Wells Fargo. Price target $58. Stock had an ugly bar on Friday. It's put in some lows here. I mean, you could argue you got the 46.01 low, which is the recent low of the move. 46.68 on Friday. 46.69. Go back into early August, 46.60. So I would say you got some pretty good support down there in the mid 46s to low 46s. We are lifting here this morning, obviously, because the stock is upgraded. They put a $58 price target on it here. This is not the prettiest chart. A lot of prettier retailers looking on. So I still think there's some overhead supply. So I don't know if I'm jumping in. If I was to buy it, I'm just saying a hypothetical situation. I wouldn't want to own it if it takes out the low of the move, which is 46.01. So I'd say under $46. I don't want any piece of this at all, because there's a lot of air below. But if I'm also long it right now, I would say you got a lot of overhead supply just below 50, where you have all those highs from the last 2 weeks. So it's kind of in a trading range, I would say right now, 46 to 49.5, we'll call it.
I think this is the first upgrade for Foot Locker. in how long?
I hear like a saw or something in the background.
Since January.
At your house?
Yes, early in the morning. Since January.
January. Are you talking January construction or January Foot Locker?
No, the first upgrade in Foot Locker since January.
Oh, okay, so analysts getting involved here. I'm just going to stick with it. 46 to 49. Trade the range until it doesn't work anymore. Restoration Hardware, which is another Jason Raznick favorite here, RH. It hasn't been doing well as of late since the earnings report straight down. Jason's in a lot earlier, though, so he's been doing well with it. RH, though, catching an upgrade this morning here at Key Bank, raising their price target up to $166 here. Stock is trading up 3% in the pre-market. This could give it some life. I mean, this could give it some life. It's a stock that actually wasn't a pretty good uptrend before this ugly 3-day move here. I would say low of the move 122.10. Again, if you're playing it from the long side, I don't like to be long stocks that are making new lows on the move. So it's probably not going to apply today because it's trading up here. But if you are saying, okay, I think this is the bottom, 122.10 would be my stop out. I don't want to, or 122 bucks. I don't want it to make new lows on the move. Spencer is saying there's really loud running water.
Yeah, I think it's running water.
What is going on there? Where are you?
I'm at home. I'm at home, man. I'm in.
You know what I deal with trying to broadcast from home too. Usually it's loud kids in the background that I'm trying to mute, but anyways.
Yeah, it stinks.
it makes it a little bit tricky sometimes. You gotta be quick on the mute button. I'm always off and on the mute button when I see the kid yelling and screaming in the background. Quick mute.
Me too.
Let's go. So Restoration Hardware. I'd say I'm no opinion overall here. Just again, don't want to be long it if it takes up the 122 low. I could see the argument for trying to call a bottom on this thing though, because it has bounced back in the past. We also got a double downgrade here for Texas Roadhouse, TXRH, getting downgraded at Baird and downgraded at Wedbush here today. Both of those analysts maybe just selling the rip because this stock has been ripping and has been on fire. $60 just at the end of July, so just over a month later. We got to 75.24 on Friday. We were pulling back here this morning. We actually had an odd lot just trade down 71. I don't think it's going that low. 71.50 is where it's bid right now. 73.50 is where it was trading to. I think it's probably somewhere between 71.50 and 73.50 where it's been offered right now. Probably where it wants to hang out. There is, even though the double downgrade here, the stock is in a clear uptrend. I mean, I don't think it's going to top it out or not. I would say the analysts are fighting the tape here. So I would actually fight the analysts on here. I'd say I like the stock down here 70 where it broke out from. So sometimes you say old resistance becomes new support. If that is the case, 70 bucks could become support. So I'd be interested in that stuff.
All right, Dennis. I know you were looking. You were looking forward to like running the show by yourself. I know we kind of teased it a little bit on Thursday or Friday.
So scared with all this background noise. You want me to just keep running?
Well, I'm just gonna hide out here.
He's gonna sit back. He's gonna eat himself some breakfast. He's gonna have a coffee. Maybe go to the bathroom. He's gonna enjoy his morning here a little bit. I'll keep running with it. I got some material here. I can ramble on. We know I can ramble on for a long time. So well, let's keep rambling here. We'll go. We'll move from Texas Roadhouse over to another food stock, DRI, because we've got Baird actually upgrading DRI here this morning. Are they? Wait, I got to get you, Spencer, because I thought I had this written down. I might have it written down wrong because it's not trading up here. It's actually in the red. So holding on. What do you have for DRI before I let you go?
Garden restaurants. What?
I saw it. I had it written down, and I might have wrote it down wrong.
Yes, downgrade.
It's downgrade. Sorry, guys. It is downgraded this morning because I was like, it's not trading up and it's offered down. So I think I wrote that one down wrong. So I was ready. In the morning I go through. This is my cheat sheet. I actually can't see it because we're not doing the camera. But I had it written as an upgrade. It is a downgrade from Baird, and it is again probably a valuation call because the stock has been on fire, absolute fire. Go up to 120.20 on Friday. It is trading offered down right now at 118.59. That would put down 50 cents. I'd imagine it goes a bit lower than that because the stock has been on fire. I think you're probably going to see this 116 or 117 handle. Again, stock in a clear uptrend though, so I think I might be a buyer of the pullback here. If it gets down the 115 area, it gets interesting here. So sorry, Baird, but I'm fighting you on this one. I think I'd be a buyer of the pullbacks, but I want a significant pullback for both of these. Like I was saying, 70 on TXRH, 115 on DRI before I get interested. We've got Overstock, OSTK, getting assumed with a buy rating at Maxim. And I don't know if I have the price target on this one or not. I think I tried to write down a price target, but my rating is worse than a doctor's rating, so I can't read it, so I won't give you the price target. But the stock is trading up $1.55 in the pre-market. It has been in the absolute gutter since it reported earnings. This was the gap and not go for OSTK back on earnings day. It gapped up from $37 up to $48. It closed the gap within 2 days, meaning giving it all back, and it has been straight down ever since. Stock in the gutter, Bitcoin not helping it because Bitcoin has not, and the crypto has not been doing well here either. I don't know. Maybe eventually get a bounce on this thing, but I think you got major overhead supply up at 30. So I think if you're buying it, you're fighting the tape here as well. I do see room to 30. Maybe you could get a 2-day rally in here. Maybe you could argue the last 2 days, you got a little double bottom at 24.74 and 24.85. Below 24.74, I want no part of it. I could see the argument if you're playing it from the long side. I think you're going to run into trouble in the upper 29s as you approach that 30 resistance. I don't think it gets there today. Don't think it has the gas. And I'd just be cautious. You're kind of in the middle of nowhere here. So when I'm looking at this, I see resistance up at 30, support down at 24.5. You're at 27.5. It's in the middle. I don't like the risk reward for any trade here. So I'm sitting on my hands, the SOH trade on OSTK. Moving on through the ratings here, Akamai gets upgraded at DA Davidson. Stock is trading up $1.50 in the pre-market. Here's another one that has been what Joel likes to call the accordion chart, which is just basically going up and down and up and down and not really going anywhere here. If you look out to the last year, that's what you'll see. Stock gets up in the upper 80s and sells off to the lower 70s. And it ran up to the 80s, sells off to the lower 70s. Then in August, ran up to 77 and sells off to 71. Now it's getting back up to 77 again. Well, you're kind of buying the upper end of the accordion here at 77, $78. So I think I'm fading DA Davidson on this one too, and maybe looking more at a sell as opposed to a buy. But if it could ever take out this range, I would say the lower end of it down 69, upper end of it at 83. Then it gets interesting. Trade the range until it doesn't work anymore is what I would be doing on that one. We got a Canadian stock for our Canadian listeners out there. Royal Bank, which is symbol RY, is getting an upgrade from Bank of Nova Scotia. I always find it interesting when one Canadian bank upgrades or downgrades a competitor. Anyways, they're getting the upgrade here this morning. Royal Bank trading, no trades here this morning. I would imagine it's going to trade slightly higher on the Bank of Nova Scotia, although these don't move a lot on ratings changes here typically. RY 78.61 close. The Canadian banks are interesting. I mean, some of them have kind of been hit a little bit harder than other ones. Bank of Montreal's held up well. Bank of Nova Scotia has been hit quite a bit harder there. I recently bought Bank of Nova Scotia in my investment portfolio just as a valuation call. I think the dividend is now up to almost 5%. It's like 4.5 or 4.6%. I kind of like it down here at these levels. I think it's just from a valuation perspective, it's fairly cheap. RY still has a nice dividend too, 3.84%. I mean, the Canadian banks aren't going anywhere. These are conservative banks going forward. The only thing that the wild card that could hit the Canadian banks is still that we have a huge housing bubble, and obviously they have a lot of mortgages out there. So I don't know if they're going into, there's no signs that the Canadian housing bubble, it's cooled, but there's no signs that we're going into like a financial crisis or anything like that. I think that's the only thing that can really, really like hurt the Canadian banks significantly is if the housing bubble was to burst in Toronto and Vancouver, because the prices are insane. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. So I think it's still, I like them from valuation perspective, all of these. I own Bank of Montreal. I own, we hear Spencer Israel in the background.
Yeah, I'm here.
I own, I don't own Royal. I own Bank of Montreal. I'm trying to think which ones I own. When you own 100 stocks, sometimes you forget about them. But I think just Bank of Montreal, Bank of Nova Scotia is the two big ones that I own. But I also own a Canadian ETF that has all of them in there as well. So, I mean, I do have some exposure to the Canadian banks. I kind of like them. They're trading, not crazy valuations. I think most of them trade 13, 14 times, and they're trading with 3, 4, 5% dividends. So I stick with them. I've had Bank of Montreal in my portfolio for about 15 years since my wife worked there 10 years ago. Bank of Nova Scotia, like I said, is just a recent ad. I just like it because it's come down about 10% from the highs, and I think it's starting to show some value down here. So jumping over here, that's pretty much the bulk of the ratings, unless Spencer sees one that jumps out on him that I missed, or if somebody in the chat sees one that jumps out. I know Spencer's watching the YouTube chat. I am watching chat over here as well. If there's a rating that you want to talk about, let me know, and I will jump into it. Otherwise, if there's no other ratings, we can move on to the other news of the day. Which the major news here this morning is over the weekend there, I would say, is CBS. And we have Moonves actually now stepping down as CEO. CBS has been lifting, I think, on speculation that maybe this could actually happen. He officially stepped down here over the weekend. Stock has been on fire the last 2 days. It actually was down on Thursday and then turned around on a dime and ripped higher. And then it went higher again on Friday. It's going higher again here today. Now, the one concern I have here is that this has ripped pretty far here now. And yes, it's probably, the shareholders probably wanted Moonves out. I mean, with sexual harassment allegations against him. But when I look at it here, I'm like, man, you're coming into resistance. You've already had a pretty good run from the lows. 2 days ago, we were trading in the 51 handle. This is, not a huge volatile stock. I mean, you're getting back all of your losses from basically July and August here in 3 days. I think I'm selling the top of the range. I think I'm looking at 58 to 59 and saying, nah, so I think I'm fading actually this, even though I think it's good news long term for the company. Now, that the second question, are they going to do a Viacom deal now that Moonves is out? He was dead set against it. I mean, could Viacom, be in play here again now that Moonves is out? Some people are speculating it. Barron's was potentially speculating over the weekend. Viacom, they had an article saying even if CBS doesn't buy them, Barron's thought that there could be as much as 20% upside in Viacom. So VIA be a different story. I don't think I'm a fan of buying CBS here. Would I be a fan of buying Viacom? Potentially, but me personally, from an investment standpoint, I already have some media stocks, which I've talked about. I've got AMCX. I recently added Lionsgate, which is LGF.B, into my invest portfolio. Even though the chart looks ugly, I just think going forward, content is king. And I think those who are producing content are going to be doing well. CBS produces some great content. I'm not saying when I say CBS that I'd be selling it. I'm just saying it's came too far too fast. I think if we were to pull back into the 53, 54 area, I'd be interested in buying it here again. But I just think the move is too much too fast. Similar to the Kraft Heinz. When I had Kraft Heinz before and it ran from 60 to 65 in a day. And I'm like, how often does a food stock go up 10% in one day? Not very often. Well, here you've got a media stock that's basically up over about 15% in 3 days. It's just a huge move. If you look, historically and look back here, at CBS, you don't see big moves like this on CBS. So, I mean, I think most of the good news is already priced in here. If it is good news, that Moonves is stepping down. And even though it's trading up here in the pre-market, it's 57.5. I know it shows 56.01 last, but it's bid 57.5 here, which would put up $1.50. It's probably going to go up and test 58. I think there could be some people running the register up here, and I think it can run into resistance. So those are my thoughts here on CBS. Let's go to Apple. Lobster talking about in the chat. Loop is raising our price target from up to 256 from 220. There was also news on tariffs over the weekend there. Apple was saying how it was going to impact them. It was trading down Friday night on that news, but has bounced back and shrugged that off here now, trading up to 22.43. I still have Apple in my long-term investment portfolio. Had it in there for a long time. I'm in from about $90, so I think I'm sticking with it. It's trading up here with the overall market. So, I mean, this is still going to move with the overall market. I still think this is still one of your leaders here. I mean, if Apple starts to fade and go down, you're going to see this market roll over here as well. Apple and Amazon still your $2 trillion companies, or your first two companies to get to $1 trillion, are still your market leaders here. So if you're trading anything, even if you're not trading Apple and Amazon, I still keep them on my screen, because when they start to roll over, they tend to drag the overall market down with it. So, but thoughts here on Apple, sticking with it. I think it's a pullback, and I think pullbacks are still to be bought on this. I know we're trading up $1 here in the pre-market. Can it cool off? Yeah, it was a pretty substantial move, 180, 190 back, 190 at the beginning of August, a 230 move. I mean, it just needs to cool off. A 40-point move on Apple in a month is out of the ordinary for Apple. Everybody's getting a little bit overexcited. I think it could cool, even down to the 215, 210 area over the course of the next little bit, but I would be a buyer of that pullback. And I don't know if it's necessarily going to do that. So I'm definitely not selling it short here. And I obviously still own the stock in my long-term invest portfolio, but I'm just saying if it was to get down 210, 215 area, I actually would probably be playing it more from the long side. Trend is still your friend in Apple. Since we just mentioned it, I might as well talk about Amazon too. It did cool off over the last couple days. Although Friday started to get some of the losses back, you could argue a little double bottom there. So 1935, 1937. Joel and I always look for setups like this where a stock comes in and puts two lows in a similar spot. Technicians like that too. Now you were 30 points off those lows there, trading up at 1968. So you know what? I think there is buyers on pullbacks here. Get down to 1940s, 1950s on Amazon. I think you find buyers here. So you get a nice little rip here this morning, but I'm not fading the rip on Amazon. And this is one that's bounced back a lot of times to Trend is still your friend. You have a little double bottom in place. I can see the argument here for Amazon going back up and getting back up over 2,000 again. Obviously, it was your second $1 trillion company there for a while before the recent sell-off here, but I don't think it stays down for long. I know valuation is still kind of crazy, but again, Amazon's a different story because the sales are there and they can make more money if they want to. They're just obviously not concerned about the bottom line. They just continue to concern themselves with the top line. You know what, Spencer? This is actually, the one thing about doing the show on your own is you run out of breath because you're continuing to talk. But it's got to be a good test for me to see if I can do it. Talk for an hour straight.
Hey, you wanted to do it. You said
this. I got the material. It's just a matter I'm going to have to take my take an inhaler or something maybe in between. But let's move on to imbalances. They just came out here right now. Pfizer 148,000 to sell. We're still seeing some pesky 8:30 imbalances every morning here in Pfizer. It seems like there's just some people who are willing to take at least one institution willing to take some profits, as the stock has had a pretty good run from July when it was down at 36 bucks. I still have it in my long-term best portfolio. I'm in from 13. I think I'm sticking with it. Exxon Mobil, 137,000 to sell. So that's showing a little bit of weakness here. Exxon Mobil had an interesting candle on Friday. Stock opened low down at 79.82 and it ripped. And I mean, you can say the same thing for oil. It was starting to come back too, but Exxon Mobil really ripped. Chevron did not do that. Actually, Chevron doing kind of.
Exxon had a headline on Friday.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, what was the headline on Exxon? Was there something reason that it ripped and the other ones didn't?
They discussed a $10 billion investment in China.
Okay. Anyway, so it's a big rip there for Exxon. You know how I like my 2-day move, so that would actually say to be buying this pullback or this imbalance here this morning in Exxon. It's actually trading up in the green a little bit here. The only thing is Exxon, you got major resistance up 84. So another 2 points up, I think it runs into a brick wall. So I would say here, if you're just looking at the thesis, bull, bear, risk, reward, I think your reward here is like $2. Your risk here is at least down to 80, but it did come from 76. So it sets up not that great from a risk reward perspective. I think if I'm playing it from the long side, it's just a day trade, maybe get some follow through strength. If we were to take out the closing price of 81.83, well, and if it opens down, that's a different story. Let's see where it opens. If it opens and then it starts to go up from there, then I would put my bogey at the opening price. And we've talked about this on the show a lot too. I really like to look at, where a stock opens, especially from a day trading perspective, because that is where, you have some significant volume. That is where people are long or short from, because there's a lot of people who get in or out. So, loss aversion comes in for the day traders and everything at those opening prices. They are very relevant. So let's just say hypothetically this opens up like flat at like 81.83 or 81.75. If it can start going up from there, then I use that as my stop out, or maybe just a nickel or dime below that price. If it obviously starts going against me right away on the day trading setup and I'm buying it long, I try to work out of it immediately. So usually when I'm playing day trades and I'm buying them from, I'm buying something that I think is going to open a little bit too weak, I want to get rewarded right away. I want to see the buyers start to come into that right away and say, whoa, that opened too low, I'm going to buy that. That's, if that's not the case, I try to cut those losses right away. And that's just my day trading. That's how I'm doing my scalping, strategies there, is that I'm trying not to take heat. Joel was one of the first things he taught me back in 1999. He was saying, it seems like 20% of the time, and he didn't have stats on this, but he's right. I would say, there's like probably 1 out of 5 times a stock will open near its high or low of the day, very near its high or the low. So if you get on the right side of that trade, I mean, you can have some heatless trades, and those are the best ones that you're in. If you're on the wrong side, immediately because it starts to go against you. So usually when I'm like buying something and say, I think there's going to be follow through strength in Exxon, well, I have a seller here this morning, so it sets up well. If I really believe there's going to be some follow through strength, then I'm going to buy the pullback or the slight pullback opens up at like 81.60, 81.65, but I want to see those buyers emerge immediately. So I want to go green on this right away. Starts going down to 81.50, it means my thesis was wrong and I need to cut the loser. And, and sometimes, those losers can be tricky. Exxon usually give you an out. There's usually some liquidity, even a couple minutes after the 8:30 number. But the whole key for me and my day trading is to, especially my opening day trades, is to get on the right side of that trade immediately. And if I'm on the wrong side, I don't like taking the heat. I will cut the loser as quickly and as efficiently as I possibly can.
Hey, Dennis, I'm going through my pre-market scanner this morning. There's like really nothing trading down. What is going on?
It's very strong today. Alibaba. So I'm looking. I got 150 stocks on my screen here right now, so I can see most of these S&P components. The ones I see in the red standing out significantly are Alibaba. I also see AIG trading down here this morning. I'm not sure what the headline is there.
AIG.
Yeah, AIG is definitely trading down here this morning. Closed at 53.67. It's just ticked down to 52.93. It's offered at 53.45. It looks like there's some analyst commentary or something there. There's definitely a headline there that AIG is trading down. I didn't see a headline, but that one stands out. I see UNH trading down. I believe that was analyst commentary. I didn't write it down, but I saw something go by on my screen. So Lobster's pretty good with that stuff. You might have
UNH was downgraded Citigroup to neutral.
Okay. So UNH. I mean, this is how I look at things, and this is how I kind of get a feel. I have scanners, so let's just talk quickly here about my setup. And we don't talk a lot about this. We talk trading ideas and everything. But if you just see my screen, so I have multiple things going on. I have two sets of scanners where they're scanning the markets for movers. I use and I've got some proprietary stuff too that I've had written myself. So, but I use NeoVest and I also use Trade Ideas. And I think Trade Ideas, I used to use MadScan, but MadScan isn't operational, I don't believe anymore. So I moved over to Trade Ideas. Those guys are great over there. Actually, a former Bright trader that started it. So we have some background with them as well. Trade Ideas here, I use that because I can see like the movers. It's showing me movers. Something that all of a sudden has a big move, it'll show up on my scanner there. And then I also have in my NeoVest, I have 1,000 stocks in there, and it will just show me, what is up the most, down the most. You can also look at like Interactive Brokers. They have a good scanner. I know Ace uses all the time, where he posts it on his Twitter account, where it's showing you what's up the most and down the most. So you kind of just want to get a feel for where the action is. But then I've also got like my main stocks I trade all the time, and I have them on this separate screen I'm looking at. I can see what they're doing in the pre-market, what they're up and down. I kind of have it by sectors. So I can see like over in the corner, I got the banks. And I can see that the banks are trading up a little bit. I see Goldman Sachs trading up $1.50. I see Bank of America trading up 0.3%, Citi, JP Morgan. So they're all trading up slightly here in the pre-market. I see oil stocks trading up slightly here in the pre-market. And then I'm looking over at obviously Alibaba, and that just stands out as a sore thumb because, like you said, most things are green today, and that is trading red. But it's a broad-based rally here this morning. Gold is slightly down. I see a few of my gold stocks in the corner trading in the red, but that's 9 out of 10 days. Those are trading in the red, so that's nothing out of the ordinary. I do see Target trading down here, but that was just an off-exchange trade. So sometimes, when you bring it up, you're like, oh, I see Target down 69 cents. But then you bring it up and you look at the bid-ask, and the bid-ask is 88 to 89.79. It's 200 shares I can see traded on FINRA, which means it was probably a retail trade. That was somebody just dumping 200 shares this morning, maybe not informed. They were just dumping, at the best price available, which isn't a very good price when it's trading at 8:36 in the morning. So I don't see any reason for Target trading down here this morning.
I see Snap down 1%.
Snap is trading down.
Their chief strategy officer stepped down.
Yeah, and Snap has just been this goes to show you cut those losses and you're happy you did it. I had Snap on for a swing trade, and I talked about it when it was putting all that support there in July and August. I had it just for a swing trade on, and you got to identify your trade. Don't let a trade become an investment. So if you're putting in for an investment, it's one thing. If you're putting on for a trade, it's a trade. So know where your out is. And I said on the show that if it's cut below the low of the move, 12.50, I was going to sell it. So it traded. I had it for a long time. I had it for like 3 weeks in my investment or my swing trading portfolio. It traded around 13 to get up to 14. I was up in it. I think I bought around like 13 and a half. It got up in a couple of times. It got up over 14. Then it get back up there, and then it come back down. And I thought eventually that it might break out. This was when Twitter was still actually doing well too, and everybody was buying, social media a little bit more. It never broke out though, and then finally it took out to 12 and a half, and I dumped it. And you can say, oh well, if you would have, you can see the day I dumped it, took out 12 and a half. I would have been July 30th probably when it went down actually and got out at 12. And I think I sold it just when it took out to 12 and a half. So probably was like 12.40 I sold it at. It did bounce back 3-4 days later, got back up in the 13. So it gave you one more chance to get out. And then it put in all those lows at 12. But once it took out all that support at 12, it's been straight down ever since. And now it's at 9. So a trend is awful here. All kinds of people stuck long this thing, overhead supply issues. So I think any type of rally you get in this, it's going to just be, a little bit of a short squeeze. I just don't see this thing coming back until it can break trend, maybe get back up over $12 is the only way I'm going to get interested in it. These prices here, I think it still moves lower.
Someone in the YouTube chat had asked earlier about Weight Watchers. I had said there was no news. There was a headline Friday that I had missed. It was that they're joining the S&P Mid Cap 400. So that could be your catalyst.
That,
this morning.
yeah, that will be your catalyst.
Yeah.
And that stock's up typically 4 to 5%. So I'm not surprised the stock is trading up $3 here this morning. A lot of times those moves are short-lived. This trend is not your friend anymore either. This is completely broken here now. I can't believe this got up over $100. I mean, you're talking about a stock when Oprah came out was $5, and it ran to over 100. I mean, who's ever been sitting on this long? I mean, there's still people that are up significantly in this thing. So I think the rally is still a fade here. I don't think the trend is your friend here anymore. I think it's broken. I don't get it that, why I'd ever trade up to $100. Maybe they were reinventing themselves, but I mean, I guess you sign up for $50 or whatever, and you can get access to their whatever it is, but online. But I don't know. I don't see this. I didn't see it going to 100 though, so I was wrong going all the way up there. But what I did learn from it was don't fight Oprah. So
Don't
that was
fight
one
Oprah.
thing I said before. When she buys something, I'll be interested in it next time when she's actually getting along something and backing it, because Oprah is powerful. She took Weight Watchers 5 to 100, which is unbelievable. But now the trend is broken. Now, so you get this S&P into the S&P 400 here over on Friday night. It's getting a lift into that. Maybe that holds on for a couple of days because of indexers, but overall here, I think the trend is still not your friend. I think rallies are to be sold.
All right. Do you want to move over to Barron's picks and pans of the week?
Yeah, I mentioned Viacom. So yeah, I did.
Yes.
He said up to 20% upside in VIAB. I'm torn on Viacom. Like I said, I've already got some exposure to the media stock, so I don't know if I'm sticking this one in there too. But straight up here in the pre-market, can it get a lift? Is it back in play with Moonves out? Potentially. I don't know if we're going to see that. So I'm torn here. I think I would rather own it than if you were saying, you got to buy this or sell this, I would say I would buy it. But I also don't think I'm going to make a trade on it because it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. I mean, we're 27 support, 32 is resistance, or 29.5 from a technical perspective. It's in the middle of nowhere. The only wild card is, does CBS buy it? There's the potential that is back on the table now that Moonves is out.
All right, here's one that caught my eye was Thor Industries, THO. Apparently, RV sales have tripled since 2009 on the backs of interest from millennials. I didn't realize millennials bought RVs, but I guess we buy RVs a lot. So Barron's was wondering if THO could be a play. They did know the industry is now plagued by oversupply, but they highlighted Thor Industries THO.
You know what? Fundamentally, I don't like the idea of buying RVs either. But technically here, you've done some work. You've put in a lot of bottoms in the 90s. You're kind of holding on. If this thing could get back up over $100, it could be interesting. I mean, you're talking about a stock that was 100, and let's go to the weekly charts. You can see it's up to $160 at the beginning of the year. So it's been an ugly year for THO, but it's done some work. And it's trying to form a bottom here. So I would say maybe the bottom is in, at least temporarily. Again, if I was to be buying this, I would not want to own it if it started making new lows. So for you investors out there that are buying this here below 87.62, I think I would stop out. But if you're buying it here at 96 or 97 this morning, I can see the argument. I can see the argument from a technical perspective. I'd like to see it back up over 100 to really feel good about that, but it's kind of trying to bottom. So until it gets over 100, though, it's really guilty until proven innocent. So I'm not putting my investment dollars in this, and I don't know if I ever will, just because I don't know if I want to invest in a company. What is the Thor? I know it's with RVs. Like, do they actually make the RVs? Do we know exactly what they do?
They are, yes, they're the manufacturer of RVs.
Okay, so they're making the RVs.
I'm wondering if they have any peers.
I know I always like, and Winnebago too is another one.
Yeah, I guess that'd be their only peer would be Winnebago.
Yeah, and the charts look similar. I mean, it's trying to form a bottom in the 35 area. It's come off from the highs of the year 55. These things move together. This is, we've talked about this on the show a lot too. It's just pair trading 101. And two stocks that tend to move together are Winnebago and Thor. So your relationships, and I've always been a relationship-based trader. I'll trade when I get a tell. All of a sudden, one of these starts perking up, it makes me want to buy the other one. So, that's kind of how I've always traded a lot. It was with sympathy, and I do that on a day trading basis as well. When I see one stock in the sector very strong, I tend to buy other stocks in the sector. And sometimes they're related. Sometimes they're not even really fundamentally related. They're just, for whatever reason, moving together. And if you can identify those relationships early, you can make a lot of money. I've said that on the show a lot of times too. And just like, when I was trading those Chinese stocks, I realized that HUYA seemed to be the leader. So whenever I was trading IQ or BILI or SOGO or any of those, I was trading them looking at HUYA. And when HUYA was running, I kind of had a good feeling that IQ could run too. So, just identifying those relationships, and WGO and THO have always had, a relationship that's, very similar there. So just pair trading 101.
Dennis, did you want to talk about Opco Health at all? They had a very interesting Friday afternoon. I don't know if you saw that one, but OPK, yeah. Yeah,
I saw it go by my timeline. Friday, actually, so I don't take a lot of time off, but I actually decided.
Okay.
I traded Friday morning. I left just around lunch, and I didn't come back. So I missed anything that was happening. And I know it's a late Friday lunch, and I was like, you know what? I don't take my wife, and I had the kids and stuff, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna take Friday off. So Friday afternoon. So I took Friday afternoon off, did not come back. It's rare for me to do that. Like I'm talking like, once or twice a year where I'm going to take something like a Friday afternoon off like that. But I did not come back to trade. Usually I quit early on Friday, and my quitting early on Friday is 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's my early quit on Friday. So I for the most part, I trade till 8 o'clock every night. So I trade the entire after-hour session just because, I'm a news trader. I'm looking for breaking news. Typically on a Friday night, you don't get a lot of breaking news except those like Jack Ma late news dumps where they're putting something by, that maybe some other smaller companies trying to slide something because there's no traders sitting at their desk. But anyways, I don't know the headline on OPK. Enlighten me.
The SEC filed a complaint alleging a pump and dump scheme involving Opco Health, actually really involving a couple of particular unsavory characters, but they're involved in Opco Health. They're also involved in ticker COOL, COOL. They're also involved in, actually those were the two that were cited, were COOL and Opco Health. But pump and dump schemes galore on Friday. Mark Cuban did come out and say he was short them, but that's obviously not going to be a catalyst as much as the SEC will be here today.
I don't know nothing about the pump and dump schemes in these particular companies. I'll just tell you, this is very prevalent in small cap stocks, like very small stocks. You see the pump and dumps all the time. I get it in my emails too. They just spam you out there. My email, has been public a few times, so I get dumped on. It's in my junk mail, just full of buy this hot penny stock or buy this stock. Half of those are pump and dumps, like where basically the company,
right. But how often does the SEC? How often does the SEC come out and say something about it?
No, not very often. They're hard to actually, for one thing, it's legal to talk your book. So a lot of these scams, they dot their I's and cross their T's, and they do it legally.
Right.
So, that's the difficult thing about the pump and dump is obviously you've got to be, it's difficult to, first of all, you can't stop everybody from talking their book. So, I mean, it's difficult to, just come down and go at it. So what the SEC is actually going after the people who are on these. That's the headline.
Yes, yeah. And then Opco is told, when someone at Benzinga asked them what was up, and they said we're trying to figure out what it's about. So they're just trying to play catch up here, or so they say. I think they know what it's about. But
I'll just say, if this has got SEC stuff going on and potential pump and dumps, I definitely don't want to own these things then, even though they may be pulling back. I'd be scared. There's too much risk of other headlines coming out nailing you. I mean, this is headline risk all over the place here. So, and if you look this morning, OPK actually, are they halted right now? I've got OPK.
They were halted. Did they never resume?
Cool is trading this morning. Cool is trading. Cool is trading down. It's open and trading down $1 or another 3%. OPK has not open.
I don't think it ever came back.
Cool is trading. Cool is trading down the pre-market. OPK got halted. It looks like 245, and it's still not trading here this morning. So we don't know where OPK is going to reopen. Cool has reopened here now, trading at $19.50, $20 here. So it's bouncing back a little bit, chopping around. All I would say is I'm not putting new money into these things. Not until I have more information.
I didn't even see that Opco was still halted. Has that halt been halted since Friday?
Yeah. Well, my last trade was 234 on Friday. So that's my last trade that I have. And it's not like if I go right now, I try to place an order here. I'll try to place an order. I go like $1 because I don't want to get filled. I place the order in there. Yeah, halted. So I just got the message back. Security isn't halted. So OPK is halted. I just tried to put an order out there and it's halted.
Wow.
OPK, we have not reopened yet, so I don't know. I'm not following the story on this. Again, I was away Friday afternoon, so I have to read up on it a little bit. But I'm not following the story here, but doesn't sound like good news.
All right. What else was on your list, Dennis?
Going back here, I had a whole list because I thought I was going to have to keep talking here. So I've actually exhausted most of it. It's amazing when you just speak for nonstop how quickly you do exhaust your list. It's a lighter earnings week. I did write down the earnings stocks for this week. I didn't see anything really jumping out at me too much. Wednesday, we're going to get Tailored Brands, TLRD. Thursday, we're going to get Adobe. Also, Kroger is going to report here. Friday, we're going to get Dave & Buster's, Play. Is there anything you saw, Spencer, on the earnings I just missed?
Oh, on the earnings? No,
When's Oracle due to report? They're always late in the earnings season. They gotta be up. Look it up.
They are late. Let me look real fast. Oracle, looking at the earnings and the Pro, they're scheduled for the 17th. Wow.
Yeah, so they're coming in a week. Oracle's always like, I feel like Oracle's at the end of earnings season. And the funny thing is, Oracle, I've said this so many times. Didn't I say this last earnings report? After they missed and the stock got beat up, what did I say? It seems like Oracle always comes back. A month later, you look at Oracle and it comes back. It seems to miss on earnings, it gets beat up, and then it comes back. And it did it again. I actually have had Oracle in my investment portfolio for the better part of a decade. I bought some during the financial crisis. I think my average cost basis, it's under 14. I bought some at like 9. I bought some more at 12, 13. And actually, I sold half of my Oracle position here up around 48 bucks when it did come back from the 42 up to 48. So I only have half of my position left in Oracle. Took a big gainer there, obviously, from the financial crisis there. And I don't know if I think the story is over here. I just, it's struggled here for years now. You know, basically, if you look at the chart here and go to the weeklies, it has been struggling in the 50s here for the better part of a year and a half and not going up. And I don't know, it's still cheap from a valuation perspective, but I just felt it was time to maybe ring the register on some of the shares, so I sold half. But Oracle is still, if I'm looking at it from a resistance standpoint, 49 to 50, all kinds of resistance. I don't want to own it before earnings. Some simple reason, it seems like it always misses.
All right, we have some stuff going on in both of our chats. So
okay, let's hit the chat for the next 7 minutes.
Let's go there. Let's look at AVGO to start.
Been a while, but I know AVGO had the good report there on Thursday or Thursday night, which obviously shows up in the chart on Friday. And wow, you know what? Comeback city here for AVGO. You should have known, you know, and I'm kicking myself on this one a little bit. When Qualcomm really started to get the life, you know, and not that Qualcomm and AVGO are, you know, the same business, but, you know, it's a value tech stock play. They were trying to buy Qualcomm at one time, and Qualcomm has just been on fire here. I mean, eventually AVGO was going to catch a bid, and obviously it did. Found the lows in the lower 200s, and now is on the comeback trail. So you know what? I'm a buyer of pullbacks in AVGO. I would say I would be a buyer of pullbacks in AVGO. I don't want to chase it here. I don't like chasing anything. I've always lost a lot of money when I chase stocks. That's why I'm not chasing it here. It's still got the 3% dividend. I think you get this back down the 220s, though. I'm interested. Could it continue? Yeah, it's up another $1.92 this morning. It might fill that gap up to 240s. At this point, I'll say I just missed it. It was to pull back in the 220 area. I think I'd be interested in this from a longer term perspective.
All right, someone else mentioning a third, I guess, RV camping stock that we missed was CWH Camping World Holdings. I think the CEO was he on with Kramer last week? The CEO here, I want to say it was. It sounds vaguely familiar. They did announce a dividend on Thursday of 7.32 cents per share, and that's CWH.
This is an interesting chart. All kinds of resistance up at 21. So it looks like it's going to try to trade up here in the pre-market and it's going to open up to that resistance. Can it take it out? Maybe. And then you got more overhead supply at 22. I mean, this has just been winding up in tight trading, basically between 1950 and 21. So I guess, you know, if it starts to get above 21, it starts to get interesting here. Could it be on a comeback trail? Maybe. Also, though, this looks similar to Thor, looks similar to the Winnebago charts where they topped out in 2018. The beginning of 2018, they've been straight down since. So they're, again, it's putting in some work. It's trying to form some type of a bottom here. So it gets interesting. Am I invested in a Camping World holding stock long term? Probably not. But, you know, I just don't know if the growth is there. But, you know, as a trade setup here, it's interesting above 21.
Let's look at Snap-on, SNA. This is from the YouTube chat.
Long time. So, holy cow, man.
I
this
know.
is the company that just continues to go up. It's one you don't think about, but man, this has been
We
on the
haven't looked at
cusp
this
of
one.
long time.
Yeah.
Look at it since 2012, $40 in 2011. It's now $180. So incredible movement. It's basically been working for the last 4 years, from probably just trying to grow into the valuation that the market's given it. But, it's found resistance in the 180s and support in the 140s. You're back up here at resistance here now, but you look like you want to break out. I mean, you're finally looking like you're trying to get up there and maybe eventually going to test that 200. There is overhead supply up there at 185. That's where we got up to at the beginning of the year in January. So I'll say that is still where you've got resistance there, but it's ran a long ways here too. So hard for me to get on board when it's just right back up here at the same resistance level that it continues to fail at. So I would say I think eventually this might try to make a run for 200, but I don't like it from risk reward though.
Here's what we're going to talk about on the show a lot. Water stocks. Let's look at Xylem, XYL.
Oh man, I've traded this a few times, but this has been a long time since I traded this one too. And this stock has been on fire as well over the course of the last few years. XYL. It looks like it's in breakout mode. Trend is your friend. Again, a company that I don't follow closely, so I'm just going to give you the technical on it. It basically, you got the uptrend. The trend is your friend. So I think its thing looks like it's breaking out. I don't know if there's news on it here this morning. It's had only a trade 11 shares here this morning, just that flat. So there's no apparent, catalyst here this morning. But stock's in a clear uptrend. Now, you know what? I kind of like the setup from the last couple of days too. Bumping its head up there. I think it could go test 80. So here you are, 77.67, trying to set up a stop for you. I think below yesterday's low, 77.03. Maybe that's where you stop out. But if you're buying it here this morning, I think you're on the right side of the trade, at least temporarily.
Can't go a whole show here without talking about the pot stocks. Just a little bit. Tilray. Tilray again. Here we go.
They're so crazy. Those pot stocks are so crazy. Anyways, wow. I mean, the ranges in these things are just incredible. It had 12-point range again. This thing has a 10 to 20% range every single day. I come in here, it's up 5, and you think, oh, it's going to be a good day, but who knows? I mean, these things are coming in seller the next. There was a little merger in the sector too. Aurora Cannabis bought somebody today, small company, and buying a smaller company. I think it was like $100 million deal. But I did see that go by my timeline. I don't know. I don't follow that company's close enough to have any fundamental news on that, but and Aurora doesn't trade over here, it just trades in the Canadian and the Toronto Stock Exchange, although I think there is an over-the-counter symbol here for that. Obviously Tilray, CGC, CRON are the ones that have just been on fire here. I will say it again, it's still a game of hot potato. I think when the music stops here, these things are going to be lower, but the music is still playing here. Can they continue higher? Sure they can. I'm still pair trading these things against each other, so sometimes buying one, selling short the other, but staying kind of neutral overall. So when I'm getting exposure to one pot stock, I'm selling short another one against it. The ones that I'm trading pretty much actively, and I've been trading these almost every day, is Tilray, CRON, which is Kronos Group, MJ I do trade as well, which has a huge position in CGC and CRN. I think it's almost 25% of the fund. And CRON, obviously, the other one. And then in Canada, it's Afria, APH, or APHQF, and Aurora Cannabis. I trade in Canada too, which is ACB. These things are just wild, wild, wild. They've had huge moves. I think if you're investing in these things now, you are way late to the party. But again, as trades, I mean, the trend is your friend. So they're still, moving higher here. I do think, the music will eventually stop here, though. And I think when I look at these things 6 months from now, I think they're lower.
All right, one more for the day, and this one is truly the last. Like when I think of the end of earnings season, I think of Costco because they don't report for like another month. But let's look at.
But they report every month because they give the same store sales. One of the few companies that still give the same store sales.
It's true.
I mean, what? Costco, you go into these stores, they're so busy. I mean, this is just unbelievable. This was an unbelievable buying opportunity when the stock got Amazon back last summer. And we can see it in the chart when the stock went from $180 down to $150 because Amazon had bought Whole Foods and they were going to be a serious.
Oh my God! What an opportunity that was! If only we knew.
We did, though. We kind of did. We just didn't, strike on that. But man, I'm kicking myself because my wife has said it too. Why don't we own Costco? Sherry says, why don't we own Costco? Because she goes there and these things are a mob scene. Every time you go there, everybody's buying $300 worth of stuff. I mean, they just make a lot of money. And I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. I think all pullbacks always bought here on Costco. It's up here again this morning. Is there analyst action here, or is this just continuation? Because it's trading up another $1.50 here to a new all-time high here again. Huge day on Friday. Continued movement here this morning.
Yes, there is analyst action. There is Bank of Montreal raising their price target to 260. We have Raymond James raising theirs to 252.
The one thing I will say is you're buying it here, you're chasing it. So you'll get another chance. You'll get some pullbacks here when you get them. I like Costco long. But wow, now, 150 last summer, 250 now, or 242. It's hard to chase it up here. I missed the party. The valuation's always been more expensive, but warranted. Those things, you can't get a parking spot in the lot. Like, I don't know how they are over in the US, but the ones in Canada, they're just mob scenes. And one in Windsor, you can't even, it needs 2 stores in Windsor because you can't even get in, you can't get a parking spot half the time. So especially on the weekend, you got to somewhere out. It's crazy how busy those stores are.
Yeah. It really is crazy. Every time, I've never seen a Costco. I've been an executive member now for about a year, and it's never not been busy when I've been there. But anyway, what?
It's just so busy. It's such a smart company. They even got me into that executive, they say, talk you into it.
They're I'm in smart.
That. I this executive membership, so I jacked my membership to 50, 150 or something, wasn't it?
Me too. I got
suckered. Give me bonus points at the end of the year, and you know what? And they cut you a check. Well, then I get just Costco coupon or Costco check. You got to use a Costco, but anyways, if you spend over I don't know what it is, $2,000 there a year, you're better off or something. But they're getting all that money from you up front, and they're getting the people, maybe just sign up and don't spend $2,000. The company's so smart. So here you have rewards program at think about this. You have rewards programs at all these stores, and they're free rewards programs. Their rewards programs, they basically charge for it.
It's not free.
It's not free. But everybody signs up for it. You think, oh, great, I'm getting, 100 or a couple $100 at the end of the year, but you paid $100 extra for your membership. They're such a good run company. They have to pay for your rewards program. They're geniuses there, man. The management there, geniuses.
All right. Well, on that note, that's going to do it for us today. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Tomorrow, we'll be joined by Nick Shaheen, author of Create Income with Option Spreads on the Marketplace platform. If you missed any part of our show, you can catch our podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Play, or youtube.com/Benzinga TV. All the information from our show, as always, is for informational purposes only and not meant to be investing advice. Thank you to Dennis for shouldering the load today. I know he wanted to do a whole show by himself. He didn't quite do it by himself, but he did most of it by himself. So
I need a drink of water.
Props to you, Dennis. Hope you guys had a good morning. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you back with you on Tuesday.